Hello, should we move on to the next slide, please? Thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to an introductory event about Cafcass. So my name is Marie Gittins. I'm the Deputy Director of Operations, and I just wanted to start this event by telling you about something for me that makes Cafcass a great place to work. And for me, that is our real focus on children and families, about achieving the best for children, about hearing the child's voice, but also we're keen to continue to improve our practice and to see where we can make better outcomes. So thank you for joining today's session. This is an introduction to hearing about the role of the Guardian and FCA within Cafcass, but also hearing a little bit about what we can do for you if you're a staff member for Cafcass. So we've got a very brief agenda there. So we are going to start with an explanation of what the role of Family Court Advisor and Children's Guardian is. We are going to share some insights about what it's like to work for Cafcass from our recent survey. We get introduced to you a practice week, about practice week at Cafcass, and this is where we spend a whole week kind of focusing on practice and staff development. We're really keen to share information about our diversity networks and the talent pathways for Black and minority ethnic colleagues, but also we want to talk to you about how you support our colleagues and all of our staff in terms of wellbeing. So today you will be hearing from a range of colleagues, some senior leaders. We're going to hear from some new family court advisors who've recently joined us, and also from some colleagues on our corporate teams. We're really keen that if you've got any questions that you will put them in the chat. We are going to take a couple of breaks to answer questions, and I've got a few people in the back room with me. But firstly, we want to start by asking you a couple of questions. And just to say, we're going to ask you these two questions at the start of this process and at the end of today. So, Anissa, can you please move on to the next slide? Thank you. So what we want you to do is on either your laptop or your phone, go to www.menti.com. and we're going to do a Mentimeter. Your other option is that you can use the code and use your phone to scan in the code. But once you get onto Mentimeter.com, can you please put in the code 81728620? And there's two questions that you're going to be asked to answer. We will give you a few moments to be able to log into Mentimeter. And yeah, perhaps it is important to say that responses are anonymous. So, and the two questions, as you can see, the first question you'll be asked is on a scale of 1 to 5. How likely is it you'll see yourself working at Cafcass within the next 12 months? Some of you might want to think, oh, I want to hear about what you've got to say today first. And the second question is, what do you think of? What words do you think of when you think of Cafcass? So we'll just give you a few moments to answer those two questions. If you can put in the Q&A if you've got any problems in accessing Mentimeter, that would be great, and we'll try and help you. Whilst you're answering those questions, we've already got a question in the chat about how strict is the requirement of having 3 years experience in terms of becoming a family court advisor or guardian, and whether or not you can have that experience across different organisations. Well, yes, you can have that experience across different organisations, but also if you've got relevant safeguarding experience, we may, consider offering the opportunity for interview with less than 3 years experience if you've got the right experience that you can bring. As an organisation, we do take on newly qualified social workers as well. Right, I'm going to move us on, otherwise I'll get into trouble for taking too long. So firstly, what do our staff tell us about working for Cafcass? And each year we undertake an employee survey. It's anonymous and staff can respond however they feel is appropriate. What was brilliant about our employee survey this year is that overall we got an 84% response rate, which is incredibly high for any organisation, but 80% of our social workers responded. And as you can see, we've got some really good scores in terms of how I feel about working for Cafcass, really positive about manager, how it feels to be in my team, wellbeing and the social work health check. There's a couple of areas there that are still scored well, but not quite as well as we would like them to be, about how leaders manage and communicate change in strategic priorities and how my work environment feels. But as a kind of leadership team, we take away any learning from this survey, look at what we can do better, and we're setting 5 actions to make sure that we make improvements. Right, thank you. If you can move on. But importantly, for the people who are attending today, what do our social work staff say about working for Cafcass? So at the top of the list is they like the 4 wellbeing days per year offered at Cafcass. One of the things we do is, in addition to annual leave, 4 days a year are set as health and wellbeing days, and it's an opportunity for our staff to do kind of health and fitness activities, relaxation activities, things that will help their health and well-being, as opposed to writing court reports and attending court. I'll let you just spend a very short period of time looking through the rest of those, and then I'm going to move on. As you can see, we've got some really, really good scores. Thank you, Anisha. I'm now going to move us on, and we've got a video that's going to talk to you about the role of the FCA and the Guardian and about management support and oversight. And this is Spencer Hurd, who's an Assistant Director at Cafcass, interviewing Gentian Dyer, who's a Head of Practice. Thank you.
As a Head of Practice in the Southwest for Cafcass, can you tell us a little bit about the different roles we offer to qualified social workers in Cafcass and what those social workers might expect when they come to work for us?
So we've got 2 main areas in Cafcass, the private law and the public law side. There are 2 teams in the private law side of the work and 1 in the public law. So for public law, the role of the children's guardian is to, sometimes at quite short notice, come in and review the work of the local authority, look at that care plan for the child, meet with the child, meet with all relevant adults and professionals involved with that child, and make recommendations as to what that child needs going forward. They've got a responsibility to minimise delay and to work in quite a boundaried way for a period of time to have a real impact for that child and their proceedings.
Thank you. And does that work involve challenge of the local authority and the work that they do?
Yes, so not always and necessarily we might agree with the local authority plan, but the whole purpose of the role is to make sure that we've got that ability to give that challenge, to speak to both the court and the local authority about concerns that we might have, and advocate for the child, but hold as an absolute paramount principle their safety and well-being, what they need now, but also future proofing as well, and thinking about sustainable plans for them.
Thank you. You talked about 2 different roles in our private law work, our early intervention work and what we call work after first hearing, preparation of Section 7 reports. Can you tell me a little bit about the early intervention role and what might be expected of a social worker in that team?
Yeah, so all the assessments that come in private law go to the early intervention team, and the family court advisors there speak to the adults involved, look for risk, and provide quite a timely report for the early hearing to look at what are the next steps needed, thinking about whether there's a need for further assessment, additional information, and how proceedings can progress and potentially close at the earliest possible stage. That work links in with our work after first hearing team. And there's always a discussion around what's needed next. So, for example, if a Section 7 report is needed, or a 16.4 appointment is needed, that goes to a drop-in session where that's discussed and really creative solutions thought about what's going to work for that child. So in the work after first hearing team, those family court advisors work for a period of time to put together that report, to really think about how factors of domestic abuse, mental health, drug and alcohol misuse are affecting that child. What's the impact for that child, and what does that mean? What plan and recommendations do we need to make to the court to make sure, again, that there are good arrangements in place that work now and work in the future?
Thank you. And you mentioned a 16.4 application. Just want to say briefly what that is for the child, what that means for the child.
So that's where the child needs to be represented separately, and they have a solicitor, which the rest of the time in private law, that's not the case. So it's the more complex, maybe longer running, and where we need to really make sure that actually proceedings are ended in a timely way with the right support in place, and that child is represented. So again, there's always a discussion about whether that's the right way forward for the child. And that's a slightly different way of working in the private law team.
Thank you. And we hold supervision and management oversight at DEAR in our organisation in Cafcass. Can you tell me a little bit about what that might feel like for a practitioner, for a newly qualified or an experienced practitioner coming to work for us?
Yeah, so people who come to work for Cafcass tell us that they're often surprised by the supervision offer, which is very supportive. The premise being that, you know, two heads are better than one, that you're not working in isolation, although you might be working very independently a lot of the time. Really important that people feel connected and part of a team. So there are lots of opportunities built in for both group supervision and individual supervision. So we have some triggers for supervision, so particular changes in the child's circumstances or the family circumstances, or things that happen in proceedings that would suggest that at that point there must be supervision. And then actually up to manager discretion and practitioner discretion, that can be requested as well. So lots of opportunities and availability for supervision. It happens, you know, very much as a matter of course, as part of a daily and weekly activity and part of the way that we practice.
Thank you.
So thank you to Gentian and Spencer. We're going to move on now, and we're going to hear from some of our newly appointed family court advisors. And just be clear, family court advisors can also undertake the role of guardian. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Ian Turley. I'm the Senior Resourcing Lead at Cafcass. I'm joined by my colleague Chloe. Chloe, do you want to say hello?
Hello.
And Chloe, you've been with us quite a while, I think, joining us as a newly qualified social worker back in 2018, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And why did you choose Cafcass at that time?
I chose Cafcass because of the 3-year newly qualified programme, and I felt that that was going to give me the support and learning that I needed.
And you've clearly progressed with us to be with us as long as you have. You say you're part of the early intervention team. Can you tell us a little bit about what that team do?
Yeah, so it's similar to the MASH. So it's the front door of Cafcass. We would do agency checks and speak to parents and sort of give a view to the court what information is needed moving forward.
And what do you particularly enjoy about working in that team?
It's very fast paced, but I like that because there's a lot of diversity with the families that you work with, and you do court duty as well, so you still have that link.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned kind of support as being really important to you. What kind of support would you say there is available in terms of supervision and resources and other things?
There is a lot of support. There's someone on a daily basis who you can contact immediately. Your managers are there. You know, you have reviews as well about how you're doing personally and professionally. And there's also peer specialists in certain areas, so honour-based abuse that I've sought support from, and also solution circles, so meeting up with your colleagues and talking about families that you're struggling with.
So it sounds like, so you've been with us quite a period of time now, and what's kind of kept you at Cafcass, would you say?
That there's not a high turnover of staff. There's so much diversity sort of within the roles and progression within Cafcass. So yeah, I'm quite comfortable where I am.
Good. Well, pleased to hear it, of course. And just before we finish up, I just wonder if you've got any advice for anyone thinking of joining us.
I would say take the jump. I know it's a change from sort of local authority or other roles, but there's a lot of stability within Cafcass.
Thanks, Chloe, for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to both Chloe and Eleanor. They're in the back room with us as a first question. It's about what proportion of your time is spent with families compared to writing court reports, etc. In terms of what proportion of your time is spent with families compared to writing court reports, I'm not sure I can directly answer that, but as I don't undertake frontline work, but certainly we're really committed to spending time with children and families, really committed to engaging well with children in a number of ways, writing to them to introduce ourselves, seeing them in person as often as we need to, sharing our recommendations with them, and also then sending a sort of a response letter. Chloe's offered to come in on this, so Chloe?
Yeah, hello everyone. So I think it's similar to the local authority really, in that, you know, you do have to write your assessment, but you get obviously quicker at writing them, and obviously you do visit that child maybe once or a couple of times, so it's easier to manage than the local authority when you've got, you know, an influx coming in. So you still, yes, you have to write assessments and reports, but you still get a lot of that time with that child and the family.
Thank you very much, Chloe. You did it much better than I did. And the other question I'm just going to say a little bit more to, in terms of, is there any legal training with Cafcass? Yes, there is legal training. We do offer training from our legal department. But in terms of the no delay rule, we have a real focus on that because we recognise the negative impact of delay upon the children and families we're working with. So in terms of our assessment and care planning, we constantly think about delay, and we ask FCAs to evidence and to what impact they're having and what they can do to try and avoid delay. I'm going to move us on, and I'm going to hand you across now to Barry Tilsey, who's from our National Improvement and Support Service, who's going to talk to us a little bit about kind of our career and learning pathway and about Practice Week.
Hello everybody, I'm Barry Tilsey. I'm Assistant Director of the National Improvement Service in Cafcass, and that service responsibility is, as Marie helpfully sort of alluded to, it's our training and development service sits in our National Improvement Service, but we also, I'm also responsible for our quality assurance and auditing and safeguarding service, and also our Cafcass Academy that you heard Chloe, who'd been through our Cafcass Academy as well earlier. But one of the key highlights, the jewel in the crown, if you like, of our learning and development offer in Cafcass, and as Marie said, we've got learning pathways as well that kind of will take you through from joining as an ASYE or as a social worker who's 2, 3, 4, 5-year qualified, or as manager. You can do a career pathway that will take you all the way through to head of practice or director roles as well in Cafcass. But our Practice Week, as I said, the jewel in the crown, it's a big week for our training development team. We offer 58 learning events in 5 days. We have 2,600 staff in Cafcass, and in this practice week that you see a few of the highlights from here today, and you're going to hear some of our staff, our social workers, and some of our corporate and business services staff as well, talking about Practice Week in a moment. But we managed to reach 87% of our staff group in Practice Week, coming to at least one of our sessions that are run. But in total, 12,257 attendances across events. It's really, really big, including a record-breaking live event that we ran right at the very beginning of a start of our Cafcass week, where we got 1,151 Cafcass staff all in the same place at the same time, hearing and learning together, which is the key part of what we try to do in Practice Week. But rather than me try and sell it to you, let's hear from some of our staff group to tell you how amazing Practice Week was.
Hey, hi everyone. I'm joined today with Danielle Roberts-Waring, Tony Winter, Fazana Rahman and Holly Earthy, and we're going to be doing some speed sharing dominoes. So the first question is, what's your favourite treat and why? For me, it's chocolate with nuts in it. The more, the merrier. Danielle?
For me, my favourite treat is probably either cake or chocolate. And for those of you that know me, you know that's true. We did a recent cake day in Greater Manchester because I'm also a feeder.
I'm all about the fried chicken because I'm addicted to salt and crunch. In order to live longer, I do need to find a vegan alternative, but until then, fried chicken is my kryptonite.
My favourite treat is nachos. The cheesier, the better.
And my favourite treat would be cake, because I don't think there's ever a bad time for cake.
Okay, and thinking back to Practice Week, what was your personal standout moment or event? For me, I think it was the coming together and the sense of connection across the organisation. But my favourite event was the My Cafcass journey, the process for making a subject access request. I really learned quite a lot more about that process for children at Cafcass.
There was some great moments throughout the week, but the one that I enjoyed the most was the working with uncertainty and the effective decision making with Professor Eileen Munro. I just thought her take on the organisation, her understanding about how important our social work identity is to us throughout the things that she said was great, and it was my absolute favourite.
For me, it was the National Managers Learning Workshop, learning from the National Quality Audit. And that was because it brought various metrics like delay and expert assessments and centred them in the assessment and child plan. So it kind of centred the assessment and child plan from which to build out from. And that helped me to kind of crystallise my thinking on why that is so important. Maybe I'm a little bit slow, but that was also cemented then by the practice session on using the assessment and child plan to support effective decision making, making the plan the beating heart of everything that we do.
My one, I would say, was Laughology. It was a great exercise to see how our brain reacts to different things. Really interactive, and it was a great laugh as well. So yeah, amazing way it was presented.
I think for me, it was the learning and development session, the career pathways, just learning more about the opportunities available within Cafcass, and as well that you can progress sideways and move to different departments, and also just building on the skills that you already have for your current job role.
Brilliant. And the final question is thinking about the difference your learning from Practice Week will make in your work. So for myself, working in the National Improvement Service and working on our Together Practice framework, it's about getting more opportunities to hear feedback from different groups. So we've got the Together Champions Network, but really listening and using feedback in lots of different spaces to improve our services.
Yeah, for me, I guess, I work in a region that's been in prioritisation. It's really been a busy area. And I guess just as a service manager, I'm really going to be taking forward collaborative working with the FCAs that I'm supporting. We had a pod group recently in our region actually talking about feedback, and I think Practice Week has helped people frame getting feedback from children and families differently. Instead of worrying that it's going to reflect on areas where they've not done so great, I think people have been able to recognise that actually it's about capturing the impact and the best of the work that we do for children and families. So yeah, just to kind of reinforce that collaborative working really.
I realised that my approach to things like audit, management, oversight and situational supervision has been quite scattergun. I've been looking at case logs, I've been looking here, there and everywhere. I'm going to centre everything now in the assessment and child plan and work my way out. It's the first thing I'm going to go to. And if I find myself unable to grasp the case from there, I'm going to be asking why not and trying to centre everything in that plan.
My one is presentation skills. I learned quite a lot as an improvement officer. I'm on project leads and everything and need to deliver workshops, which can be really nerve-wracking. And it's been great to take on some ideas of how to control your nerves, how to present really well and be engaging as well. So yeah, that's what I've been practicing.
I think for me, the main takeaway was the connect before content. Because the importance of building connections and relationships when we're in such a big organisation and everyone can be spread out across the country and there's lots of remote working. So I think connecting beforehand and learning more about each other is really important.
Brilliant. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. And I think I'm going to pass over to Jamie to talk to you about our diversity networks now.
Good evening, everyone. I am Jamie Ray. I'm the Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Officer here at Cafcass. And we're just going to explore a couple of slides about our EDI initiatives and our investment into diversity in Cafcass. So we have 6 diversity networks. So what are diversity networks? They're a community of colleagues that have the same characteristics. So this can be colleagues that have a disability or a long-term impairment. That's for our Ability Matters network. Carers network, so our colleagues that are carers. Faith, Kaleidoscope, which are for our colleagues from a Black, Asian and minority ethnic background. A mental health network and a pride network. You'll also see on the slide that we do have a 7th network coming up shortly. So I'll give you a little bit peek behind the curtain. That is our neurodiversity network, which should be launching in the next few weeks. So we do have a quick video here of from our co-chair of the Ability Matters network on why our networks are so important. So could we please play that? Hi everyone, I am Jamie Ray. I am the Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Officer here, and we're just going to go over some information about our diversity networks. And I have my fabulous colleague with me today. Can you please introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Emma Peacegood. I'm Assistant Service Manager in the private law team in Kent.
Fantastic. And you're here with us today because you're a network chair. So can you let us know what network you're a chair of and how long have you been a network chair?
Yeah, I am the network or co-network chair of Ability Matters, where we look at disability or neurodiversity. I've been network chair now for about 6 months prior to going on maternity leave. So I'm just kind of getting in the swing of things really, and now I've come back and I'm really looking forward to meeting old, previous, existing members and new members within the network.
Fantastic. And Ability Matters is part of our 6, almost 7 networks, which you would have learned previously about or be learning about in a second. So why do you find that the network is beneficial, Emma?
For me, it's a great opportunity for me to share my own experiences, my own knowledge of what I have. My background is with working with disabled children. I'm profoundly deaf myself, so it's a really nice opportunity for me to do that. Sometimes my own frustrations as well. So it's a nice platform to do that, to share with like-minded other individuals. I know that some people within my network have faced their own frustrations or barriers, and so it's just really nice to sort of reach out to each other for support or for some ideas and tips or even just general chat. Everybody's journey is unique to them, and for me it's a great way of touching base and meeting other staff within Cafcass.
Fantastic. And I know that you've gone over a couple of recommendations why a colleague would want to join a network. Is there anything else that you would like to mention around joining a network and why is it important?
Yeah, I think it's a great way for staff to put forward ideas, things that they would like to see change or improve within Cafcass. to make sure that we are all meeting each other's needs. It's also an idea or an opportunity to share resources and training so that we can all continue as practitioners to work in the best way and improve our own practice. Like I said, it's a great platform to identify, you know, the right support or the best support that we can for staff as a staff member within Cafcass.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for your time today, Emma. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll hand back to myself. That is the first time I've ever handed back to myself, so that was an experience. Can we go on to the next slide, please? So one of the most accomplishments and something that we're proud of in regards to EDI is our talent pathways. So here at Cafcass, we like to look at our strengths, but we also like to look at our weaknesses. We are not afraid of analysing where the gaps are in regards to diversity. And this is where this talent pathway came from. We were aware that we didn't have as much senior managers from a Black, Asian, minority ethnic background. And this is why we implemented these 3 talent pathways. And we have a couple of quotes here from Gominda, who underwent these talent pathway, and as you can see, it was a very positive experience, and we are always open to looking at ourselves and seeing where these gaps are. So it's an ongoing piece of work, and we hope to implement more of them in the future. Could we go to the next slide, please? Fantastic. So we're going to go over some accreditations and our ED&I initiatives. So we have our diversity champions. So I like to refer to these as our boots on the ground approach to diversity. So these are our colleagues who are very passionate about EDI, and they work with me directly, and we put on workshops, newsletters, emails, and those sort of resources, and they meet with me every 2 months, and they really get involved, and they're the first to see upcoming initiatives, which I think is a real positive for them and helps develop them. We also have our diversity calendar, so we support and celebrate the big diversity events. So we recently had Black History Month, Interfaith Week, and as you can see from behind me on my background, we are currently in Disability History Month, and we ensure that we give these diversity events the recognition that they deserve. We have a strategy that is all around EDI, and this goes into our Together practice framework and our Together values. Everything, as you'll see from this whole PowerPoint, is intertwined. We work together on all bases. And as you can see, we have 3 different accreditations: Disability Confident, Mindful Employer, and Carer Confident. And these are to show that we go to external organisations and allow them to look at us and see if we are doing what we say we do. And I think these 3 accreditations show that we are, and we hope to get more in the future. So that is everything from me today, and I believe I'm handing over to Marie for any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jamie. So, any questions? One of the things I did want to say is that we're really keen to develop our career and learning pathway. And one of the roles we've introduced this year is the consultant family court advisor. So we've got our social workers who are known as family court advisors, who also undertake the guardian role, but we're going to be, offering kind of a next step up and a consultant, which is a bit more specialist role. And then following that, people have the opportunity to go onto an assistant service manager post, a service manager post, and something else new that we've introduced, or that we're introducing, is the senior service manager. So Anna's got a question about how often are there training opportunities. Barry, can I come to you for this, please? Barry, are you live?
Not yet. Oh, thank you, Marie. It took a little time to get the box over. Yes. How often? That's a tough question, actually, Anna. I mean, you could be not quite all the time, but I mean, there's certainly opportunities to undertake training at any point. I mean, you start with, if you a core training offer, an induction training offer, and then there's particular aspects of training if you're working in public law or private law. There's also a number of external training. There's training directly for a practice framework as well. Yeah, I mean, it's the most extensive learning and development offer I've ever worked in, had the environment around. The development side of it, so if you're looking at career development and those aspects, then we try and offer coaching and mentoring aspects as well, to really come into Cafcass and feel that this is an opportunity for me to both grow now in my learning, but also my development as a social worker into whatever career I want to go into, whether that's management or senior leadership roles as well. Back to you, Marie.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm live again. I'm going to move us on now. Thank you for that, Barry. So I'm going to hand you over now to Catherine Swinney, who's going to talk to you about our health and wellbeing approach.
Yes, hi everyone. So yes, as Marie mentioned, my name's Catherine Swinney. I'm the Health and Wellbeing Officer here at Cafcass, and I'm just going to give you a little taster of sort of what our health and wellbeing offer is here at Cafcass. So I think to sum it up in a short response is that it's very holistic and it's quite comprehensive in terms of our approach to health and wellbeing here at Cafcass. So you'll see in the centre we have sort of our circle of your wellbeing. So it's recognising that it's your well-being both in work and outside of work, because you have an important life to lead outside of work as well. And we look at various disciplines of your health and well-being, so not just the physical or even just the mental, but looking at sort of your social health, how connected you feel, your financial health, and then the wider environment you're in as well. And that's all so that you experience a high quality of working life and being resilient to whatever the pressures that you may face in the workplace, and sort of within the field of social work, and then also that ultimately that's going to allow you to enable yourself to support children and families to be their best, and be engaged with Cafcass. So on the next slide, if you're happy to click me forward, we tend to break down our health and wellbeing offer into these 3 sections here, and I won't go through every single bit, but just I think maybe more the unique elements to our health and wellbeing offer. If we start with sort of the support arm, I think it says a lot to actually for an organisation to invest in having a dedicated health and wellbeing team internally rather than just external providers. So I am here full time, and we are here to provide wellbeing training, well-being consultation, in both a one-to-one kind of wellness coaching environment for staff, but also consultation for managers of how best to support their staff. And that leads into having a, similar to the diversity champions, having a sort of boots on the ground approach similarly, where we have a network of well-being champions and mental health allies, which are quite similar to sort of mental health first aiders, if you're more familiar with that terminology. And so they're there to provide that local level support, that peer support, so people who have undergone some additional training but are ultimately passionate about health and well-being and providing, a space and a listening ear. If we move on to some of the information and resources, again, some of the key things that maybe stands out a little bit differently compared to other offers, is we have a regular, schedule of well-being workshops, both provided internally by myself as well as externally. And so we have things like daily mindfulness meditations that are available every day that staff can just join whenever they want to, last minute or scheduled. And we have weekly yoga sessions that people can join virtually as well, as well as quarterly sort of campaigns. So example, we just started our Stay Well This Winter campaign, where we have an interactive bingo card that if staff complete certain habits during the winter months when we know it's a bit trickier to maybe be as active or look after ourselves, you can be entered into a random prize draw. And then finally, in terms of some of our benefits, again, some of the key ones Marie mentioned previously, we have 4 wellbeing days per year. So those are days separate from your annual leave that staff can use and either attend some of the workshops we have on the day itself, or do their own wellbeing activities that they feel help them look after themselves. So some staff do, a nice longer walk, or they meet up with a friend. Some sort of, do a big meal prepping. Some go take a massage. So So it's really up to you how you sort of like to spend your day, but they're there for you to take regularly on a quarterly basis. Some of the other standouts, so the last two I'll mention, is the BHS health plan. So every Cafcass staff that's sort of paid through Cafcass is automatically made a health plan member on BHSF, and that means staff can claim back certain health treatments like eyeglasses, dental, and complementary therapies like physio, acupuncture, reflexology, just to name a few. And so we pay for that for all staff, and then staff can access those health treatments and be reimbursed. And maybe more specifically to sort of social work, we recognize the nature of some of the work that we do within social work and how emotionally demanding and quite fatiguing it can be at times. And so more recently, alongside our normal sort of EAP counselling line and our wellbeing app that's available for all staff, we've implemented a new division which is known as the Critical Incident Support Service. So that's for staff if they have come across something quite traumatic, whether it's work related on a case or completely separate in your work and your personal life, then that's a support service where you can get access to trained trauma counsellors. So that's a whistle-stop tour. Like I said, there's a lot there, and I'm just going to switch over to our next slide where we have a sort of video from one of our champions, Deborah, who's going to share a little bit about her role as a champion, as well as her experience as a staff member here.
Hi, my name's Priya. I'm the HR Resourcing Business Partner here at Cafcass, and we're joined by Deborah, our Family Court Advisor, who we're going to talk to today. Deborah, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, yes, I'm Deborah. I'm in the early intervention team. I've been with Cafcass about 6 years. I was previously an agency worker. I qualified with my master's in social work in 2007. Currently, I'm a mental health ally. I'm also a health and wellbeing champion and equality, diversity, inclusion champion as well for my team.
Thank you, Deborah. So what's the biggest change that you've seen since being here?
Yeah, so since joining, I joined in 2018. I've really seen health and wellbeing really becoming a big focus for staff. And certainly from my own perspective, I've managed to find a happy work-life balance that I struggle to find elsewhere.
That's lovely, thank you. And what do you think one of your to-dar moments have been over the last 6 years?
Yeah, so as part of the diversity inclusion work that I do, I actually volunteered to do a presentation last year, and for me this was really it felt quite a big moment because I presented to the senior managers and it kind of rolled out throughout Cafcass. So, and I was actually quite pleased with the work in the end, and certainly the presentation has been shared. It's nice to contribute. And another factor that for me is and why I continue to stay with Cafcass is obviously the brilliant work that Cafcass does, but essentially the people that work with Cafcass, the people who work in Cafcass, such as my managers who've been really inspirational and my really supportive team.
Yeah, it's nice that you've got a very good supportive team as well, and that your EDI work has been really recognised as well, so thank you. And as well as working your EDI champion role, you're also health and wellbeing officer, sorry, a health and wellbeing ally here. What motivated you to become a health and wellbeing ally?
Yeah, I mean, obviously for myself and my experience, I have sadly lost some colleagues that I had worked with in other local authorities. They did take their lives, and really this has been a real motivation for me to provide support and sharing information to support others. So that was a real big sort of moment for me. So I would say that was one of the key aspects, has been the motivation for me.
Yeah, and we've got that support as well across the organisation with our dedicated health and wellbeing team, as well as the champions, as well as you've just mentioned that you've got really good support within your direct team as well, so to help with any of those issues. How would you describe the health and wellbeing offer here at Cafcass?
Certainly the wellbeing offers, I'd say, quite unique. You know, we are able to have full wellbeing days. The system is really well organised and is a real draw for me. There's a programme of work and engagement of online resources, just to really take some time away from the demands of work. And I really love the BHFS, where we can claim money back for accessing sports physio, claiming on glasses and things like that. So that's been really helpful.
Yeah, the medical care offers quite a broad range of things to claim against, as well as being able to extend it to your immediate family as well. That's lovely. What advice would you give to someone thinking about joining Cafcass in the future?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Don't be put off by the process. Do the research, look at the website, and certainly try and link in with some Cafcass staff. There's lots of managers who are more than happy have a chat with you just about the work really, and how to kind of see what we do here.
Yeah, we've got our practice aids as well, all available to be used on the website, so you can look through those, and also join the talent pool as well. If you don't find a role available, the talent pool, you can also have the option to be contacted by someone from the team to be able to provide you with more information on joining, or if you need more information just on the roles and things that we've got here as well. So that's a really good advice. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
So yeah, so we can see there's, again, quite a lot to the health and wellbeing offer, and I'm now going to pass it to Marie. But if you have any questions, both Deborah and I are in the back room, so we'll try to answer any as we see them.
Thank you very much, Catherine. That was really good. I'm aware that we're providing you with a lot of information this afternoon. Recently we have won a number of awards, so we just wanted to share that with you, that we won in terms of the Children and Young People Awards. We won the Employer Award, and also our Family Justice Young People's Board won the Partnership Working Award. We're highly committed to working with the Family Justice Young People's Board and the Family Forum, which is made up of family members who've been through family courts, to look at how we can improve our practice, how we can improve the services we're offering, and ensure that their voice is incorporated in all new developments. Can you move us on to the next slide, please? Yeah, just some more awards. I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to ask, can you move us on to the next slide, please? I don't think, unfortunately, at this point we've got time for questions, because we do want you to answer the 2 Mentimeter questions again. So if you can move us on, please. So what we'd like you to do now is sign back into Mentimeter, menti.com, and if you can answer those 2 questions again. So on a 1 to 5 scale, how likely is it you see yourself working at Cafcass within the next 12 months? Hopefully some of what we've said today has made you feel quite positive about the potential of working for us, but also what words do you think of when you think of Cafcass now? So we'll just give you a few moments to answer those questions again, because we want to compare kind of from the start of the session to now, have we kind of provided you with the information you need? Thank you. Can you move us on to the next slide, please? So we have provided you with a lot of information. Hopefully it's interested you in the potential of a career within Cafcass. So what to do if you want to know more about Cafcass. So we've provided some links there on the slide. You know, if you do have any questions, and you are interested in working for us, I'm going to come on and we're going to talk about the talent community which you can access, but we'd be keen to provide someone within your own local community for you to talk about kind of Cafcass, the opportunities to work here, and the job roles in a bit more detail. It would be really useful as well is if there's anything you would have liked us to have covered today that we haven't, if you could put that in the chat as well, so we can think about it for future events. That would be very useful. So can you just move us on? So an opportunity for yourselves. So if you're interested in working for us, or if you've got any more questions, then please do, register for our talent community. It's quite easy to do and quite straightforward. But through that, if you do want to speak to someone to get a bit more information, or if you want to find out more about Cafcass and the job roles, then there's opportunity to do that. Thank you. Next slide, please. So finally, thank you very much for joining us today. We really hope we've stimulated your interest and that you might go onto our vacancy page and look at what's available. I think hopefully we've managed to get across today that as an organisation, we are highly committed to providing the best service to the children and families we work with, but also we're highly committed to supporting our staff. It is a very rewarding role working operationally as a social worker within Cafcass. It is challenging at times, as in every social worker role, but hopefully from what you've heard from staff today, you'll see the benefits and the strengths also, bring their own rewards. So thank you. And as you'll also see on that last page, kind of our recruitment motto at the moment is be their voice, because obviously we're all here to be the voice of the children that we're working with. So thank you very much.